the heart of the American West, one stormy night changed everything. A mother's courage, a sheriff's honor, and a family's fate. This is a story of love, sacrifice, and unexpected heroes. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Tell me, where are you watching from? Let's get started. The wind howled across the endless Texas plains, dragging dust and the smell of rain toward the Rayburn Ranch. The storm clouds gathered like bruises across the horizon, swallowing the last traces of sunset. Inside the modest farmhouse, Emma Rayburn moved from window to window, her hands trembling as she latched the shutters. Her two children, Lily and Jack, sat close to the crackling fireplace, clutching a worn blanket and watching their mother's every move. The thunder came closer, rolling deep and low, shaking the ground beneath them like a warning of something terrible to come. Tom Rayburn, her husband, had gone out hours earlier to round up the cattle before the storm hit. He had promised he'd be back before dark, but the darkness had long since swallowed the fields. Emma kept glancing at the clock above the mantel, each tick echoing like a hammer in her chest. The old ranch dog barked suddenly, its deep growl rising from the porch. Emma froze, her heart pounding. For a split second, she hoped it was Tom. But then, through the sound of the rain came the rhythmic pounding of horses, more than one. Too many for comfort. She moved to the window and lifted the curtain just enough to see lights flickering in the distance, torches or lanterns, bobbing like restless spirits. Her breath caught in her throat. She had heard the rumors in town earlier that week that a gang of outlaws, led by a man named Jed Craven, had been moving through the countryside, robbing and burning farms that refused to pay for protection. No one had expected them to come this far west, not to this quiet stretch of land. Emma felt the chill of fear crawl up her spine as she realized what those lights meant. A heavy knock thundered against the front door, nearly making her jump out of her skin. "Emma!" a familiar voice shouted through the wind. She rushed to open the door, and there stood Sheriff Cole Matthews, soaked to the bone, his hat dripping, his coat dark with rain. His face was set in grim determination, eyes flicking past her into the house. "They're coming," he said without preamble. "Craven's men. They hit the North Ridge, set fire to the Miller place. Your husband tried to stop them." Emma's blood turned cold. "Tom, where is he?" she asked, her voice trembling. Cole hesitated, his silence saying more than words could. Cole stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "He's holding them off best he can," he said finally. "Told me to get you and the kids out." Emma shook her head fiercely. "No, I'm not leaving him." Her voice cracked, but her resolve was unshaken. Cole looked at her, seeing the same stubborn courage he remembered from years ago when Emma had patched up wounded men after a cattle stampede. She was strong, but he could see the fear eating at her. "Emma," he said quietly, "if we don't move now, they'll be here before the hour's up. You got a chance to save the little ones." Lightning flared outside, bright enough to illuminate the fields, and in that brief flash, Emma saw them, riders, a line of shadows moving fast through the rain, torches glowing like angry stars. The sight made her stomach twist. "It's too late," she whispered. Cole turned and saw it too. His jaw tightened as he reached for his revolver. "Get the children to the back room," he ordered. "Stay low, and don't come out unless I say so." Emma hesitated, torn between obedience and the terror that if she hid, she'd never see Tom again. But Cole's voice left no room for argument. She gathered the children and hurried them toward the back hallway as the first gunshot cracked through the storm. The window shattered, spraying glass across the room. Cole ducked, firing back into the darkness. The thunder mixed with the sound of gunfire, an unholy chorus that made the whole house tremble. Emma crouched with Lily and Jack behind the bed, her hands shaking as she held them close. "Mama, are they going to hurt us?" Jack whispered. She forced a smile she didn't feel. "No, baby," she said softly. "Not while I'm here." But deep down, she didn't believe her own words. The gang was ruthless, and Cole couldn't hold them off alone. Then, in the middle of the chaos, something in Emma snapped. Or perhaps something stronger woke up inside her. She rose from her hiding place and ran back toward the front of the house, despite the sheriff's shouted warning. The moment she stepped into the main room, a bullet tore through the window frame inches from her face. Cole grabbed her arm roughly, pulling her behind the overturned table. "What the hell are you doing, Emma?" he barked, You trying to get yourself killed? She met his eyes, fierce, determined, shining with tears. If they want someone, she said, voice shaking but steady, they can take me instead. Just save my family. Cole froze, staring at her as if she'd spoken madness. That's not how this works, he said quietly. But she didn't look away. Please, Cole. You know what they'll do if they get in here. Take me outside, give them what they want. Just let the kids live. Her desperation cut through the thunder like a blade. For a moment, all he could do was stare at her. This woman standing in the middle of a war zone, willing to trade her life for her children's. He had seen brave men die in gunfights, and soldiers stand tall against impossible odds. But he had never seen courage like that outside. The gang's leader shouted, his voice booming through the storm. Come out, Rayburn! You can't hide forever! Cole clenched his jaw. You're not going anywhere, he muttered, reloading his gun. Emma laid a hand on his arm. Cole, she said softly, promise me, if it comes to it, you'll protect them. Her touch lingered for just a second, trembling with the weight of everything unsaid. Then another round of shots shattered the doorframe, and both of them ducked again. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, sharp and bitter. Cole's pulse pounded in his ears. The minutes stretched into eternity as the fight raged outside. Every flash of lightning showed figures moving closer, shadows creeping toward the porch. Cole knew they couldn't hold out much longer. He turned to Emma, who clutched her locket with trembling fingers, eyes wet but unbroken. You're not dying tonight, he said firmly. Not on my watch. But even as he spoke, he wasn't sure if he could keep that promise. The sound of horses, gunfire, and thunder merged into one, and the night seemed to close in around them, heavy with fear and fate. And through that fear, Emma whispered a prayer. Not for herself, but for her family. The wind tore through the broken windows, carrying rain and smoke into the farmhouse. The front door swung open, crashing against the wall. Lightning revealed a dozen riders outside, their faces hidden under wide-brimmed hats, torches burning in their hands. The gang spread out, forming a half-circle around the porch. At their center sat Jed Craven, his scarred face twisted into a cruel grin. Well, look here, he called out, his voice slicing through the storm. The sheriff himself playing hero again. Ain't that something? Cole Matthews stepped into the doorway, revolver raised, every muscle tight. You made a mistake coming here, Craven, Jed laughed, slow and mocking. Now, see, the mistake's yours. You're protecting folks who don't pay their dues. This here's business, Sheriff. Ain't personal. His eyes shifted past Cole, catching sight of movement inside. Emma Rayburn, standing behind the overturned table, trembling but unbroken. And that must be the lady of the house, he drawled. Pretty thing. Shame your husband's already bleeding out back in the field. Emma's breath caught. You're lying, she whispered. Jed tilted his head. Maybe, maybe not. Guess you'll find out when the storm clears. Cole's grip tightened on his gun. You take one more step, and I'll put you in the dirt. The men around Jed laughed, raising their rifles. You think you can take all of us, Sheriff? Jed sneered. There's 12 of us, and just you. Cole didn't answer. He just steadied his aim, eyes locked on Jed. 12's a good number, he said coldly. Means I won't have to reload too often. The tension crackled like the lightning above. Then, before anyone could blink, Emma stepped out from behind the table, hands raised. Wait, she shouted. Don't shoot! The outlaws paused. Cole spun toward her, shock flashing across his face. Emma, no! But she moved past him, out into the open, the rain drenching her hair and dress. Her bare feet splashed in the mud as she faced the men. You came for payment, she said, her voice breaking but steady. You can take me. Just leave my family alone. Jed's smirk widened. Now ain't that something? The missus thinks she can bargain. Cole grabbed her arm, pulling her back toward the doorway. Get inside, he hissed. But she shook him off, her eyes fierce. I won't let them kill my children, Cole. Jed swung down from his horse, boots sinking into the wet earth. That's quite an offer, he said, circling her like a vulture. You'd trade your life for theirs? Emma met his gaze. If that's what it takes. Jed chuckled darkly. You got guts, lady. More than most men I know. Cole stepped forward, gun aimed square at Jed's chest. That's enough. The rain beat harder, running down Cole's face, blurring his vision but not his aim. You'll touch her over my dead body. Jed spread his arms, grinning wide. That can be arranged. The next second exploded in gunfire. Cole fired first, one shot, clean and fast, catching Jed in the shoulder. The outlaw's scream cut through the storm as chaos erupted. The gang opened fire, bullets shattering the porch railing and splintering the doorframe. Emma dropped to the ground as Cole dove beside her, returning fire with deadly precision. 2 outlaws fell instantly. The others scrambled for cover, shouting orders through the rain. Smoke filled the air, the smell of gunpowder burning through the night. Lily and Jack screamed from the back room, and Emma's heart twisted with terror. Cole reloaded, hands slick with rain and blood. "Stay down!" he barked, then leaned out and fired again. Another rider tumbled from his horse. The thunder roared overhead like the heavens themselves had joined the fight. Emma crawled toward the children's room, her hands shaking. She found them huddled beneath the bed, eyes wide with fear. "It's okay," she whispered, even as tears streamed down her cheeks. "It's almost over." Behind her, Cole fought like a man possessed, every shot deliberate, every movement fueled by something deeper than duty. He was fighting for her and for the life she'd begged him to protect, but the battle wasn't over. Jed, clutching his bleeding shoulder, staggered back to his feet. "You're dead, Sheriff," he roared, lifting his revolver with his good hand. Cole turned just as Jed fired. The bullet grazed his side, knocking him back. Pain shot through him, hot and blinding, but he stayed standing. He raised his weapon one last time and pulled the trigger. Jed fell to his knees, eyes wide with disbelief, then collapsed face first into the mud. The remaining outlaws froze, their leader's body lying motionless in the rain. One by one, they turned their horses and rode off into the darkness, swallowed by the storm. The silence that followed was deafening. Only the rain remained, whispering against the broken windows. Cole leaned against the wall, blood seeping through his shirt. Emma ran to him, catching him before he fell. "Cole!" she cried. He gave her a weak smile. "Guess we won," he muttered. "You're hurt," she said, voice shaking. "I'll get bandages," but he shook his head. "Tend to the kids first. They need you more than I do." She pressed her hand against his wound anyway, refusing to let go. "You shouldn't have done that," she whispered. "You could have died." Cole looked at her, his eyes soft, despite the pain. "You were willing to die first, Emma. Guess I couldn't let that happen." When the dawn finally broke, the storm had passed, leaving the ranch in ruins, but still standing. The fields smoked in the distance, charred and broken, but alive. Emma stepped onto the porch, her children clinging to her sides, watching as the first light touched the wet earth. Cole stood a few feet away, his arm bandaged, hat back on his head. He looked out toward the horizon, where the gang had vanished. "Tom would have been proud," he said quietly. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You saw him?" she asked. Cole hesitated, then nodded slowly. "He fought hard. Saved the herd. Bought us the time we needed." She closed her eyes, the truth sinking in. Tom was gone. Cole turned to her, unsure of what to say. "He died brave," he added softly. "Just like you lived brave tonight." She met his gaze, searching it for comfort, for something solid in the wreckage of her world. "I didn't feel brave," she said. "I just couldn't lose them, too." Cole tipped his hat, his voice low. "That's what real courage looks like." They stood there in silence for a long while, the sunrise painting the sky in gold and crimson. The land, scarred but alive, seemed to breathe again. As Cole mounted his horse, the wind caught his coat, lifting it like a dark wing. He looked back at Emma and the children standing in the doorway. "You'll be safe now," he said. "Craven's men won't come back." Emma nodded, tears glistening on her cheeks. "Thank you, Cole," she whispered. He hesitated, as if he wanted to say more, then only tipped his hat again. "Ma'am," he said, voice rough. "You saved them first. I just finished the job." Then he turned his horse toward the open plains. The morning light stretched across the fields as he rode away, the sound of hoofbeats fading into the horizon. The storm had taken so much, but it had also revealed something neither of them had expected, that even in the darkest night, courage could burn brighter than fear. And for Sheriff Cole Matthews, the image of Emma Rayburn standing tall against death would never leave him for the rest of his days.